Mustafa. I host this show. It's called Culturism. And we typically bring people from all over the world who have experience in either HR or culture building to share their stories and share their journeys on what it takes to build corporate culture. And tonight we have a fantastic guest. Her name is Evelyn Chue, and she will be coming on board very, very soon. As soon as we get all of you on board to the show, I'm just going to check the feed on LinkedIn and see what's going on over there. As always, tell me where you're from, what you're doing, why you're here. And as always, we enjoy interacting with everyone. We have Junette Coloroso from California. How are you, June? Nice to have you on board. Always a pleasure. And everyone else, please tell me, I'm typing as I say this, tell me where you're from. Thanks, June. I hope it's nice in California today. In Malaysia, it is exactly 9 p.m. And that's when we start our show. So 9 p.m., it's towards the end of the day. I guess it's about very early in the morning in California. Yep. I hope everything's great over there. Everybody else, please tell me where you're from. Gaurav Sharma from Hyderabad, it seems, if I get my short form cities correct. Gaurav, I hope you're doing well. And everybody else, please tell me where you're from and why you're here. If you have any questions, any views on corporate culture, or as we say about love, life, or everything in between. We talk about all these subjects on this show, your favorite weekly corporate culture show called Culturism. So we have Robert Barry. Hey, Rob, it's really nice to see you. We have Nazatul. Yep. Farah Hidayah. Yes, from India. Sharma. Did I get Hyderabad right? Oh, you were just saying hi. Oh, sorry. I got that. So I'm just asking everyone where you're from. Where is everybody from? We have from Bangladesh. Sagor, Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you on board my guest for tonight, Evelyn Chue. How are you, Evelyn?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me.
It's nice
Hi
to
to
have
everyone
you.
too.
Yep, as you can
Thank
see, people
you.
are coming in from all over the world. And Evelyn, you are
Yes.
now in Kuala Lumpur?
Yes, I am actually in Kuala Lumpur. Yeah. How I wish I can be somewhere else. Too bad. No traveling allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, the skies are closed, unfortunately. But
Yes.
are you a KL girl, or where are you originally from?
Actually, I'm born, bred in KL, but during my education, I studied in Singapore during my primary school, and I
Right.
came back to Kuala Lumpur for my high school. Then my dad sent me to Japan, Tokyo,
Ah,
as an exchange student. Yeah, fantastic experience. And then I'm back in
wow.
KL to complete my college and yeah, my degree and etc. Yeah.
That's amazing. Before we get into that, Evelyn, and you have not
Yes.
seen these questions, and
Mhm.
this is one of the favorite parts of our audience is,
Yep.
and so we're going to play this game, 10 questions,
Oh,
and I'm going to ask you really in a
okay.
rapid
Mm,
fire manner these 10 questions that you've never seen before. And they're designed to give us a little bit more insight to who you are, who is Evelyn actually.
okay.
And I'll go straight to my first question. So, Evelyn, who's your go to band or artist when you really can't decide on something to listen to? Who do you always fall back on?
Sam Smith.
Wow, Sam Smith. Nice choice.
Yes.
I love Sam Smith. All right. So, number two, since you're into all of these psychology and
Okay.
science, what personality trait do you value the most? And which do you really dislike?
Oh.
Which you dislike the most?
Humble is a value that I
Humbleness.
value most. Yeah, humbleness will be one. And the other one, hmm, I think boastfulness. Yeah.
Okay. The opposite of humbleness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we get to see a little bit about
Mm.
that. How would you define a good life? What makes a good life?
Feeling happy with anything that you're doing. Yeah, to me that's called happiness.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's a nice one. So it's not tied to any physical, material things or anything like that.
I don't mind having more cash. That definitely make me more happy.
But it doesn't define a good life, does it?
Yeah, correct.
Because a lot of people have
Mhm.
a lot of money, but they are very unhappy.
Yes, true.
So that's a good point. So number four, if you could, Evelyn, convince
Mhm,
everyone in the world, all the billions of people in the world, to do one thing at one
mhm.
point in time, what would that one thing be? What would you get everyone to do?
Smile. It,
Ah,
yeah, it's
that's
free. Everybody can smile.
beautiful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. All right, let's get everyone to smile. Okay, let's get everyone in the audience to smile tonight. So, everyone, wherever you are in India, in the US, in California,
Hmm.
smile right now. So, we're making you smile.
Yes.
Number five would be, what would be the scariest monster you could ever imagine?
My kids.
Ah,
Thank God they're not listening in.
how many
No, no,
kids do
just
you have?
kidding. I have two. Yeah.
Wonderful. Boys or
Hmm.
girls?
My son is 11. My daughter is
Wow.
8 this year, so I have two. Yeah.
Ah, those are great ages.
Yes.
They could be monsters. I agree. I have
Yeah.
5 kids, so I've gone through that.
Wow. I guess when you say it's scariest, it's probably, we value them that much. And the one thing that is scary to think about is losing them. So, as much as I describe them as monster, but definitely I will keep them forever. Yeah.
That's a good
Someone say I'm funny,
one.
huh?
Yeah. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what is one you have lots of responsibilities as the managing director
Mm-hmm.
and chief
Yeah.
passionist of your company? What would one responsibility you wish you didn't have?
One responsibility. Um, Having to worry about their tomorrow. Yeah, but I guess it's a responsibility that cannot get rid of. But that is also the responsibility that has been driving the team very strong till today.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. So even if it's something that you really don't want to, be responsible for, but it
Mm-hmm.
does drive the company, doesn't it?
Yes,
That's
correct.
something that you have to have. So, all
Mm-hmm.
right, you need to bring in the money to pay everyone,
Yep.
so everyone can put
Mm-hmm.
food on the table. So
Correct. I
that is
guess
a
that is more of responsibility of entire team to take care of one another instead of one person's responsibility. So I usually don't want to see that as my own responsibility, but it's a shared duty across the team. Yeah.
right, right. That's a good perspective
Mm-hmm.
to have on that. Number seven, what stereotype do you completely live up to? What's the stereotype that you are?
Hmm. That's a very good question. You caught me. I thought we were supposed to end the day, but you start making me think again. Oh, what stereotype? Any hint? Hmm.
Anything that you've been called that, betul lah, this is how I act, or that kind of thing.
Stubborn.
Ah,
Yeah.
so stereotype:
A
Asian
lot of people
women
say,
are stubborn.
yeah, that you cannot fight with the Asian women. So
That is
audience
correct.
better take it as a good tip.
Be careful who you pick a fight with.
Yeah.
All right. What lifestyle change have you been
Mm.
meaning to make for a while now? What's something that you want to change in your life?
Oh, okay. I guess having to run several companies, I've been very busy at work, but one thing that I'm working very hard to change is to really balance my work and family life because my two kids are constantly complaining I'm not spending enough time with them. So it's something that I'm working very hard to ensure that I'm giving them more time and attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Mm.
it's hard when you're running companies, not one company, but several companies.
Yes.
And it takes, I'm sure, much
Correct.
of your time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you're wanting to change.
Mm-hmm.
Back to music. What song or artist do you like, but
Mm-hmm.
rarely admit to liking? Maybe you're embarrassed to admit that you
Oh
like
my
a certain
God, that's
artist. Is
that's
there
that's, that's
anyone?
a lot. I can't say song, but I actually enjoy listening to theater. Yeah,
Huh?
musical. Yeah, but a lot of
Right.
people associate that to old age.
So you don't want to shout about it, lah.
Correct. But I really enjoy musical. Yeah. Uh-huh.
For me, it's Justin Bieber. Even my
Huh.
kids laugh at me because I enjoy singing his songs. I enjoy listening to his songs. They're like, "What? You're a believer?" I
He
don't
keeps
believe
you
you,
young.
but yeah, maybe. So that is
Mhm.
Justin Bieber. And my final question to
Yeah.
you, Evelyn. And I ask this question to all of my guests, and you are
Okay.
guest number 14 or
Ah,
15. And so this
it's a
show
good
has been
number.
going on every single Tuesday for 14 weeks.
Amazing.
And I've been asking the same question to all of my guests. Who is
Mhm.
the kindest person that you have ever met? And tell us a
Mhm.
story about him or her.
The person is very close to me, close in my heart as well. That would be my mom. My mom. I can say that she's the kindest person in my life I ever met because her unconditioned love for the family, especially having to operate so many things, she's the one who's really supporting me a lot. I think next to her will be my dad. Yeah. So they are someone who will contribute but never expect. And then for her, she not only contributes to the family, her friends, she's very committed. Yeah, very, very. Yeah, you should meet her one day.
I hope so. Is there
Mm-hmm.
one particular story that you can share with us about her?
Mm, I guess during my early days in the business, of course, no business is always smooth sailing. So I started off with quite a choppy experience, very rough. And for her is she don't mind emptying her bank just to see me make it. Yeah. But of
Wow.
course, you wouldn't know whether you make it or not until the day comes, right? So she risk it. Yeah. She don't mind and she doesn't even calculate at all. So for her is take it. I guess
Wow.
that applies to my dad. That's why I would name the both of them.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
amazing. Thank
Yes.
you so much for sharing a
Sure.
bit of you, of your personal life. We did get quite personal there, so thanks
No
so much for
problem.
sharing with us.
Sure.
So,
Hmm.
ladies and gentlemen, we have Evelyn Chue with us. She is the managing director of People Science and also the chief passionist of Unoya. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yes, you're
And
correct.
so now, after we've done with that segment, we'd really like to know a little bit about these two companies. So maybe Evelyn, you'd like to start
Mm.
with People Science. What
Okay.
does People Science do?
Actually, People Science was founded back in 2013, not too long ago, but I felt like it was ages already after going through all the experiences building the business. So after I have left Deloitte Consulting Malaysia, that's when I started People Science, and we started off as very humble, very small team, a team of two, only two, yeah, two warm bodies. And we focus a lot on psychometric assessment, and that's actually my background in psychometric assessment. So I think very soon after that, a lot of clients will always come to us saying, by the way, Eve, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you also do this? Yeah. So ended up we do a lot of what Malaysian says dan line means and others. Yeah. So yeah, because of the dan line, we started continuing our practice in consulting. So we help clients in doing competency modeling, looking into their culture, looking into their team dynamics and etc. Yeah. And with that, we even venture in the space of things like design thinking, Lego serious play. So our business is all about people. Yeah, anything about people, about employee. That's what we do. So about 2.5 years ago, People Science actually acquired a training house. That is how we actually expanded into providing development and intervention to corporate clients. Yep. And I guess we didn't stop there. So the adventure continued. And with that, what we did was during our engagement with client, we actually came across a lot of clients who are telling us about their personal life and challenges at work. So this is when we look into the mental health services. So honestly, I'm not a clinical psychologist for the audience knowledge. I'm very much into industrial psychology. Yeah, and therefore I cannot help them in a very ethical way. So I feel very helpless, and this is when we started another team called Unoya. I was actually sharing with Azif saying Unoya is actually a Greek term. It means beautiful mind. also means normal mental health state. Yeah, with that, we went into another different space about clinical services. Yeah, so under us, in total, we have 4 companies, including we have a company in Singapore as well. However, as you can hear, how I describe all my businesses is all about people. So we have a consultant with very strong psychology background, but that is not just that is not really a prerequisite. In fact, we welcome any talent to join us as long as they can contribute. Yeah, so
Wow,
that's the
that's great.
business. Mm.
So, how long has this journey been? When did you start People Science?
People science was started in 2013. Yeah, 2013.
Wow, it's been a while
Mm.
now.
Yeah,
It's been a quite a time. So,
correct.
Evelyn, I mean, you were
Mm.
from Deloitte, and
Yes.
that's a major consulting organization. What
Mhm.
made you strike out on your own? I mean, I'm sure it's a stable, it pays well, it's a reputable
Mm.
organization.
Yeah, I know.
What made you leave Deloitte and go for your own? Become a entrepreneur. That was a
Yeah.
tough choice. I must imagine.
I agree with you. It's a very tough choice, but I don't know what blinded me that time, but I just want to do it. I guess a friend of mine was telling me whether am I ready to take up a new challenge. Of course, staying in a big corporate, having a big name like Deloitte is very convenient and very comfortable. But then I was asking myself, where can I get to? When can I get to the next level? Of course, you can always get to the partner level because I was already a senior manager. You can always get
Right.
to a partner level, but is that what I really wanted? So my friend say, hey, I'm not that young back then, but my friend did mention, try it out. You want to? Hi, I have Deloitte alumni here as well.
Yeah.
So for what my friend shared with me is, why don't you start early? You fail fast. So if you need to rebound, you rebound fast and move on. So for me, it's like, hey, makes sense. Yeah, why don't I give it a try? If things doesn't work out, I can always come back to Deloitte. I hope they still want me back then. Yeah. So that's how I left Deloitte and started the entrepreneur journey. Mm, yes.
Wow. The Deloitte, I'm sure, because I've never worked in a large consulting firm. I've done consulting, obviously,
Mm,
but do they also have the move up or out kind of culture where everything is so fast paced and
mm.
everybody needs to perform?
Yeah, I have to say Deloitte is definitely a performance-based organization. So in Deloitte, a lot of people thought that Deloitte only have the number-driven group of people because Deloitte is very strong in audit and also tax. But
Right.
for audience knowledge, I am not a number person, and number hates me, and we are never best friends. So I'm not in audit nor tax. So I'm in the consulting field. Yeah, the consulting department. And in consulting department, everything is really fast paced, like what Azif you mentioned just now. So we actually hire consultant who can learn on the fly. So in fact, those days when we were heading the consulting team, we had to use a lot of psychometric assessment, which is my forte actually, using a psychometric assessment to analyze their thinking agility, their aptitude, like, how quick
Right.
is your thinking power. Yeah, because we do need people who learn on the fly and be very fast paced.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it must be very pressure situation and environment.
Yes. Correct. Yes. And
Yeah.
back then, I was actually managing a department called Thomas International. So I was leading the business, and to me, one of my job scope, my KPI is to make sure that we maintain the high market share. Yeah. So it is stressful, but I enjoyed it because I have a very supportive team back then.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It having children, and I'm actually on. I was on the board of Girls in Tech, and I am
Ah,
now volunteering with 30% Club of Malaysia. And our
mm-mm.
work is to get more women on public listed
Yes.
boards and also in C suites.
Mm-hmm.
Was having children part of that equation of leaving that environment and striking out on your own?
Hmm. When I started the business, I was about to deliver my second child actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And when we started the business, everything is very hands on. You have to do a lot of things by yourself. But my
Of
business partner back then is very, very good to me, very kind to me. So a lot of things, both of them would take it on. So with that, they gave me a lot of space to adjust myself. Yeah, with the pregnancy, and kids, huh? Were they part of the equation? Maybe my kids will say, was the business part of their life equation? Yeah, because the business took their mother away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I guess kids definitely have impacted my role in the business a lot. Yeah, definitely. And even till today, I'm still trying to juggle between the work and family. Yeah, still learning how to.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're all learning because
Mm-hmm.
it is, I mean, it's part of our lives,
Yeah.
and we need to figure this out, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a species, we need to figure out how we can do
Yes.
work and as well as take care of our families at the same
Correct.
time. To the audience, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'll be happy to put it on air and we can address that. But
Mm-hmm.
for Evelyn, I'd like to talk a little bit about
Sure.
Eunoia
Mm-hmm.
and why. I know it's part of the people equation. I mean, it's
Yep.
something that people
Mm-hmm.
need, but there's been a lot of talk and a lot of attention on mental wellness
Yes. Mm-hmm.
recently. So,
Mm-hmm.
what was actually the trigger for you to strike out into that space and build
Mm.
a team specifically for that?
All right. I know I don't have the whole night to share this with you, but I'm so passionate about yeah, and therefore we call ourselves the passionista. Yeah, we don't call ourselves consultant.
Mhm.
And I guess maybe it started off with a very personal reason, because in my family, my nephew is actually special need. Yeah, he's a mild autism, and I can see how my brother and my sister-in-law, even ourselves as the immediate family, having to try how to manage him. Yeah, we learn a lot, and that built a lot of patience out of us. However, whenever I interact with him, I notice out there, there's still many people who is like him. Maybe a lot being neglected. Yeah, therefore, we actually wanted to start Unoya to increase the employability for special need. And honestly, that is actually
Wow.
the core of Unoya. And while we are trying to raise fund to build an employability center for the special need, um, therefore, we have the clinical psychologists running therapy for our corporate clients. In fact, not just corporate client, even the masses. Yeah, so that we get enough funding to start the center, and that's why we started. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yes.
great. So there is a goal of having a whole center to help
Yes.
special needs people get employed.
Correct.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
very noble cause, close to my heart as well. My
Mm-hmm.
youngest son is autistic. He's
Mm-hmm.
on, they say Asperger's, right? On the
Oh,
spectrum,
especially.
at very other end of it. He goes to a normal
Mm-hmm.
school, but he's with delayed development and hard to
Mm-hmm.
cope with where he is right now. He's 13, so he should already be in junior high, but
Mm-hmm.
we stayed back a year, so he's still in upper elementary. He's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest guy there because he's really tall. He's almost as tall as me. So
Yeah.
that's kind of but he's coping really well, and we have support,
Mm-hmm.
with the psychologist, and
Yes.
he's going through all sorts of therapy. But if
Mm-hmm.
you meet him, you probably wouldn't guess that he's special needs because he
Mm-hmm.
converses really well and he's really smart. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that he's struggling with some aspects of development. So really really appreciate you doing that and
Mm-hmm.
helping to have that noble goal in mind. So before you get there, now you're
Mm-hmm.
actually servicing corporate clients. And
Yes,
what kind of
correct.
services do you provide to corporate clients?
Okay, so for corporate client, usually at the very beginning, a lot of client actually ring us up like, "Hey, I have an employee who is getting a depression. Can you help? I have this
Hmm.
talent who used to perform really well, but unfortunately, having some family matters, the unsorted matters. Can you help?" Yeah, honestly, as if don't be surprised. There's a lot of alpha male CEO sitting on the top that's also struggling. And the higher they climbed, the more lonely they became. And therefore, they needed someone to talk to. Yeah.
Right.
So, because of all these reasons, yeah, we are serving the corporate client. We call it as an employee wellness program. Of course, some of the audience over here probably will heard about the EAP program. Usually we'll call it Employee Assisted Program, but we rebranded a little bit called the Wellness Program. So we call it MT Program because we want people to come to us. It sounds a lot more welcoming. And
Right.
some clients come to us to run talks, webinars. In fact, we have been running a couple of mental health related campaigns, and the campaign can last as long as 6 to 9 months because mental health is not just a one-off talk and someone is almost like lighting up a light bulb. You don't do that with wellness. So we
Right.
usually spread out the talks, and then we cover several topics, and we welcome them to come to us when they need more information and etc. So yeah, campaigns, and then in fact we have something called a taste of therapy. A lot of people thought that talking to a therapist means that you must be crazy, or something must be wrong with you, therefore you
Yeah.
must talk to a therapist. So we want to break that stigma, and with that we want people to try it out. No pressure, therefore we call it a taste of therapy. A short session is just a brisk walk in the garden with a friend. Yeah.
Excellent.
So therefore, a lot of people start opening up, and a lot of clients of ours are seeing the benefit of it. Yeah. So these
Wow.
are the activities that we have been offering to clients. So some people say they can't really meet during the pandemic. So we are doing digital therapy. So it can be done over the phone call. It can be done over Zoom, Skype, Google Meet, any
Right.
form. In fact, we even get into text therapy. They are still people who are reluctant to speak up, but they don't mind texting. So that's how we have explored different channel for people to connect with us.
Wow,
Mm-mm.
that's
Yes.
fascinating. I had a guest on this show. Her name is Tracy Rubel, and she's the
Yes.
founder of Sidewalk Talk. And what they
Ah.
do is they have over 8,000 people now trained to sit on the sidewalks to listen to people. Because, like you
Nice.
said, people think, going to,
Mm.
and she's a registered psychoanalyst.
Yeah.
And she says that people just think there's so much stigma on talking
Mm-hmm.
to a psychiatrist
Yep.
or to an analyst, but so she wants to demystify that and put people on the streets. And it's an amazing platform.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually has somebody in Malaysia to run
Mm-hmm.
those. Obviously, with the MCO, that's not possible now.
Mm-hmm.
But I do hope to get involved in that as well and become one of these listeners. We're not providing therapy; it's just listen. People don't
Mm-hmm.
have enough people to listen to them. Like you said, even the CEOs don't have anyone to listen to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's
Correct.
definitely something very, very important. So
Mm-hmm.
that's on the uh, eunoia part.
Yeah.
But on the people science part,
Yes.
do you also do psychometrics and other
Mm-hmm.
forms of evaluation for
Yes.
companies?
We do. So when it comes to psychometric assessment, you totally light me up now. Okay, so for psychometric assessment, yeah, we analyze the human behaviors, like their working behavior. We look into their compatibility from the person perspective as well as against the targeted role. So therefore, client usually use this kind of measurement, at least more objective measurements when we look in their leadership skills, their readiness stepping the next role, and hence a lot of clients are using it for succession planning, yeah,
Right.
professional development. Mm. So that's from the behavior perspective. Of course, we also look into things like the learning agility, again, the mental horsepower that we are talking about a while
Correct.
ago. Yep. And right now, I guess the hottest topic that we have tapped into is called mental toughness. So mental toughness is actually one layer higher than what we usually call as EQ. So especially the corporate clients right now are going through quite a lot of challenges. All of us
Right.
know what kind of challenges most people are going through. Yeah, not just corporate, but even individuals. Yeah, are we able to cope with it? How tough is our mental capability? Yeah, so those are the things that we actually assess. So a lot
Right.
of things can be felt but cannot be measured. So what we are saying is that we try to measure as much as possible. But of course, disclaimer is that a tool is just an indication. But we don't say that the tool is 100% accurate, but we still depend on listening to the individual because the best input is you. Yeah, not the tool.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you rely on. But and you also, obviously, you were mentioning you had
Mm-hmm.
consultants to go in and assist these companies with
Yes.
what type of projects, what kind of interventions do
Mm-hmm.
you bring into the organizations you work with?
So some clients will probably start off asking us, hey, can you just review our competency model? So we will. We'll look into their behavioral indicators, whether are this what we call as behavioral indicators, in short, we call BI, are this BI aligned with what they want to achieve as an organization? It has to be aligned with their mission, vision, and core value, of course. Otherwise, you will notice that it's disjointed. Then what's the point of measuring something that is not the supporting pillar to make sure the organization is achieving the target? So we usually look at the competency model, and then we'll see why are they doing this. Of course, some clients will use it to assess graduates. Then we'll propose certain assessment. So for graduate who is still very young, we usually look into their learning agility. Yeah, are they thinking on their feet? How quick can they pick up certain skills? And then when
Right.
it comes to the mid management, we'll look in their development, and this very nicely just jive with one of our business, the training house. Yeah. So we look into their gap analysis between their personal skill sets versus what is required of the role. Yeah. Of course, we're also going to study higher level, which is succession planning. So we're looking at targeted role and see whether the person will be ready in a year's time, 2 years time, and etc. Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
So right now, our latest offering is actually game-based assessment. So a lot of people say, hey, assessment, just sit there and complete the questionnaire,
Yeah.
would it be boring? Don't worry. Right now, there are game-based assessment, and you really enjoyed it. In fact, recently I was testing out one of the assessment. So interesting. Yeah, this is the first time I don't find penguin cute because I couldn't make the penguin jump into the water. I got so frustrated. Yeah, that totally tells you that my learning agility is not very high. Yeah. Yeah.
But this
Mm,
falls really well with this question we have from Ben. Ben Dalton
mm,
is asking us, do you think that behavior and transferable skills are becoming
mm.
increasingly more important than experience and qualifications? What do you think?
Ben, I love your question. Fantastic question. Yes, it is really very important. So, for example, a lot of the time people say that, hey, can we just teach someone and then you always say teach someone to fish and then they will survive, right? Yeah, that's actually the same saying. And in fact, if you talk about let me just relate a little bit back to the mental health that we spoke about a while ago. So you see, a lot of people may have master degree, PhD, but they don't really know what's happening around them. Yeah, their colleague could be going through a lot of difficult time, but they can't be of any help to them. So what are we saying is that, hey, great to have fantastic qualification, love it, yeah, very smart people. Maybe what you can pick up is also a skill called mental first aider. Yeah. So now we're teaching people how to observe people around us and see if people around them need any support and help so that they can offer help. But you see, mental first aider is not to treat. You're just like the detector. You're like the detective. You spot whether people require help or not. So that's the skill sets that we are transferring right now. Yeah. We don't have enough psychologists in the organization. So therefore we need to create the minions, yeah, as detector. So these are the skill sets that we think that is very valuable.
So,
Slightly if you compare with the qualification.
so are
Mm-hmm.
these the types of trainings that your training company provides to companies?
Yeah, actually we do. So usually we will teach them how to observe what are the
Mhm.
symptoms and then how to probe further to ensure that the person is really needing help. Some people may not be very severe, but when you start detecting anyone with the severe needs, that's when you need to alert the person that he need to look for the proper support. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. There's a question here.
Yes.
I think it's N Harun. We
Yeah.
can't see his name right here because of his
No problem.
security uh,
Mm-hmm.
settings. So he's saying, what about there's an in-house consultant, right? You're part of the company,
Ah.
yet you
Yeah.
need to be separate because you want to
Mm,
keep transparencies and all of this. And
yes. Very right.
is that happening, or what's going on in that space? Are there more in-house kind of therapists
Mm,
and analysts inside a company,
okay.
or do people outsource this sort of work?
Love this question as well. So honestly, I Azif says there are a lot of audience all over the world.
Mhm.
So I believe in other parts of the countries like the US, Canada, or Australia, so the Western countries are usually having their own in-house clinical psychologists to support their employees.
Mm.
It's pretty well received there because they respect the confidentiality. Yeah, but unfortunately, we come back to country like our Asian country, a lot of people start saying that, will my boss know about my condition? Will
Mm.
you tell my
Mm.
boss that I'm going through depression? Will this impact my job? Will they fire me? Yeah. What if my board of directors know that I am having this anxiety disorder? Yeah. So a lot of people are not trusting the system. So
Right.
I have to be very honest. Right now, in the Asian country, there's still a gap if when we talk about having to hire in-house clinical psychologists, but they are a lot more open if you outsource it to the external clinical psychologists or the therapies. But I like what the question also talk about, which is what about the transparency, the trade secrets, and etc. So I would probably relate this back to the confidentiality part of it. So when you actually hire in-house clinical psychologists or even an external clinical psychologist, usually they will have documents signed to say that it's highly confidential. If employee were to approach us and tell us about their issues, we do not really report back to the organization. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
however, we do have a logbook. So, of course, clients want to make sure that they paid for the services accurately. So we will have a logbook. The client or the HR department, they can always appoint someone to audit the record to make sure that the logbook is accurate. But the cases are not recorded. So this is where we want to ensure that whoever will come to us, you are safe. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's professional responsibilities as well, right? I mean, fiduciary duties that you can't really reveal what's not supposed to be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
uh,
So we just have to keep a lot of PNC stuff carefully.
yeah. So I guess Norley is talking about what you were talking about just now in terms of
Mm.
assessment, so that
Yes.
employees can be, better placed
Mm-mm.
in according to their personal traits, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Absolutely. Nolly, absolutely. So you see, what we are trying to do here is we want to magnify their strength and we would like to close more gaps. So
Mm.
we want to put people at where they perform best. But we are not saying that we will discount people who is weak, but we will groom them. So based on the result of the assessment, then we will get to know how can we further groom them, the more effective way to groom them.
Right.
Yeah. That's what we are trying to aim for.
Cool. Aznita likes the game-based assessments. That sounds
Mm.
resonates with her. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, I would like to know more about that as well. I mean, how do you
Mhm.
gamify things? Something like assessment.
Mm.
Typically, assessment, like you said, is so much.
Mhm.
It's so boring. Is you sit and basically take a test, right? Nobody loves to
Yes.
take a test. Nobody wants to take an
Mm.
exam. So how do
Same
you
here.
gamify that?
Yeah. Like you said, nobody like to go through exam and be tested. Yeah, that's why I always enjoy sitting another side of the fence. Yeah, because I enjoy seeing people being stressed, not myself. Yeah. So based on the game-based assessment, um, so it really look into the construct of what are we assessing. In fact, there are some game-based assessment they can assess whether someone's strategic thinking. Yeah, are they strategic enough or not? And these games are developed by world-class chess player.
Wow.
Mm, yes, and even the quite a few university who supported the research of this game-based assessment. Yeah, so we are very honored to be partnering with them. And of course, when you play a game, the timer is there ticking. And it also assess how well do we cope with pressure. Yeah, that's why I say I don't like sitting on the side of the fence, you see. Yeah,
I remember when I was under the
mm,
selection process to join Celcom. This
mm,
was 2.5 years ago,
ah,
and I won't mention the name of the provider, but there was online and it was
mm,
game based, and there were actually
mm,
two things going on the screen. So on the bottom left, you're supposed to do some comprehension. Top right, you're
uh-huh,
supposed to do some maths at the same
right.
time, and you say the sticker is clicking, and it's so stressful. Oh
Yes,
my
there you
god!
go. Correct, correct.
It's
So
like it's
that
about to
that is,
explode. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I know a lot of candidates says that. But you see, the difference of running an aptitude test, a lot of people say that, do we have to do this? Do we have to do this? But to me, behavior assessment look into how you and I are being constructed, our behavior, yeah, our leadership style. But the speed of arriving to the destination, that is the aptitude that we are testing. So different assessment actually will meet different objectives. And of course, while we're talking about what people science offer, game-based assessment is one, but we also offer gamification such as onboarding process, your
Uh,
orientation. Yeah, how do you gamify the experience? And this is where we look into the user journey. So I need the audience to understand it's two separate things. Yeah, I hope I didn't confuse any one of you. Please stay on and listen. Yeah, so game-based assessment is the assessment bit, and you have gamification that's designing the user journey to make people enjoy and remember what they are going through. So a lot of people think that gamification can be only be applied for learning and development. Not necessary. It can even be onboarding. It can be part of your orientation. Yeah. Right now, we do a lot of gamification for client who want to share their usual employee handbook, the
mm,
employee handbook in
right.
in in the form of playing games. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
That's something very interesting.
Yes.
We did develop something called our awesomeness guide, which is our employee handbook, and
Mm,
there are a couple of little games in there, but we haven't completely transformed the process in completely gamified the process. Something I
mm,
definitely love to talk about, because that's
mm,
something that I think would really transform that process. So
mm.
quick shout out to Carl, good buddy of mine from the States.
Right.
Just dropping by to show his love, enjoying the great conversation. Thank you so much for
Thank
dropping
you.
by, Carl. Carl's
Mm,
from the States. And
mm,
people on LinkedIn that I found, I mean, just to share, has
mm,
been so kind, I think,
mm.
as compared to other social platforms, because you find so many different personalities on
Yeah.
Facebook. You
Correct.
find, the different types of
Mm,
people on LinkedIn, for example,
mhm,
on Instagram, for example. But on LinkedIn, I find people to be very, very kind. And,
mhm,
you know, I'd like to do a study on that and see how the differences between the social medias actually impact people's behaviors. And I
mhm.
love the community that we're building here on LinkedIn. They're
Nice.
so supportive and so
Mhm,
helpful. Somebody is saying, I think it's N Harun again. She doesn't
mhm.
like aptitude tests.
Me too.
Yeah. So yeah,
Mhm,
it is something to, aptitude. I mean, there's a lot of
mm,
debate, obviously, that people
mm.
are saying whether this test is accurate, this is not accurate, this type of
Yes. Correct.
personality test. So how do you
Mm,
address that when people
mhm,
are talking about how can you trust this
mhm.
assessment? What
Okay.
what makes people believe in assessments?
Mhm. You see, when there is a point in time where a lot of people will say that, they feel threatened by the assessment. Honestly, I've been practicing in the space of psychometric assessment for the past 15 years. Yeah.
No,
And
you're not that old, Eve. You can't, you
oh, I
couldn't
must
be.
I must give the credit to the camera. I must give the credit to camera. Yeah. So you see, for a lot of assessment, I have to say you need to understand why are you using the assessment in the first place. If you understand the objective of using the assessment, you don't need to feel threatened by it, you see. And for example, if you want to develop someone, use the assessment to help. But again, I have to say this, assessment is not your holy grail. Assessment is just a reference, it's just a data point, it's just a conversation opener. Yeah, so that you have some basis to share. So, for
Right.
example, one of the assessment that we are using actually can identify whether someone is going through burnout. Yeah. Imagine, can you just drag someone into your room and say, I think you are burning out? Yeah. The person will ask you, how can you tell? So the assessment can be a conversation opener, but don't fall back to the assessment 100%. There's no assessment in the market that will say I'm 100% accurate. Oh,
Right.
I hope I'm not killing my own rice bowl here, but I just have to say this. Yeah, I'm killing my own core business. But you see, we always remind our client, use it as a data. Use it as a data. You're not using this to kill any talent. We're here to groom them. We're here to help them, to support them. It's not asking you to penalize people who fail the test. So, for example, a lot of people will doubt, do we need aptitude tests? What if I score really low? I score low at certain tests as well. Therefore, we
Mm-hmm.
are all different. Remember, I started off saying that I don't like numbers, numbers don't like me. I flunk it, you see. But the question is, does my job need me to deal with a lot of numbers? If my job don't need, then it's just a reality check about my preference on numbers, you know? Yeah, so therefore I will practice creative accounting. Yeah, so yeah, we need to censor this part of it. So
That's why you have a chief financial officer and you're not
correct,
doing the books.
exactly. If I look at a book, I think everything will be haywired. So, so you see, the aptitude test is helping us to understand the talent so that we can fully maximize, utilize, capitalize on their skill sets, their contribution. Imagine if someone is tested that he or she may not really like dealing with numbers, and you are force feeding him into a role that he has to deal with numbers and crunch it every day and night.
Mm,
Imagine the kind of stress the person is going through. Yeah. And also, sound technical, but just bear with me. A lot of people think that qualification, the higher they get, the better grade they have, or the CGPA that's high, means that they will sure pass aptitude tests. No, not necessary. There are so many types of aptitude tests in the market. Therefore, again, you need to understand what the assessment is all about before you apply it, and you need to apply it correctly. Yeah, most of the time, if you convey the objective of the assessment with transparent message across to the person who's taking the assessment, most of the time people are quite receptive. Yeah, unless the the communication is unclear, people
mm,
doubt the purpose of doing the assessment. Even
right.
I will not be very honest when I do it. So,
So
mm,
trust first, yeah. You need to be
yes,
transparent and
correct.
authentic about your
Yep.
communications.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that's tough to do because obviously people experience many things while they
Yes.
work,
Mm-hmm.
and you know as soon as they experience distrust or something that they
Mm,
can't quite trust, you know it's hard to sell
yeah,
something
correct.
like assessment.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
And
people
therefore,
have to be. Go ahead.
therefore, when it comes to assessment, um, maybe a lot of us are still trying to share this information with the clients out there, is that you need to be properly trained to run assessment, and
Right,
there's actually qualification to it. And
right.
whoever who hold the qualification, they'll make sure that the message is clear, and that is actually the ethics. It's
Yeah.
just like any profession, you have your own ethics as well. Same goes to psychometric assessment. Yeah, and we need to uphold that very close to our practice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Excellent. Okay, so how does all of this fall in the corporate culture discussion since we're in
Mm.
this show called culturism?
I-
So what does all of these, the science behind, you
mm-mm.
know, assessing people and managing people, how does that shape corporate culture?
Mhm. So, for example, now that we are talking about assessment, right? I can always go into the gamification slightly later. But talking about just coming back to the aptitude test. So a lot of clients say, I must use the assessment as part of hiring. Good, and that's where, I mean, lack of better word, I'm so sorry. I should have think of a better word before I come to your show because it's live. Yeah. We will tell client, just imagine it's almost like blood transfusion. Yeah. Almost like, but we're not saying that you must let go of your old blood. No. But when you bring in the new blood in the organization and you start using assessment like the aptitude test, you need to make sure that whoever that you hire, of course, you're blessed to have high score candidate, but is the culture designed to retain this group of talents? Because people with high aptitude score, they will learn things so quickly that they get bored easily. So, do you have enough excitement to keep them? They can come in full excitement, rah rah, but is your comment band, is your reward designed to excite them for many more years to go? Or
Mm,
is the job scope designed to make sure that this person is getting the maximum out of the role that you're offering him or her. So even when we use aptitude tests, we always tell client, great, you're getting great talents, fantastic, but make sure that you can really keep them. You can't have high score coming in and things are not designed to keep them. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
is one of it. And let me move on to the behavioral. So, for example, when it comes to corporate culture, certain leaders are being chosen because of their leadership style. And then ended up every manager they hire the same style. So my question always come back to the client. So are you training them to become military, or are you a manufacturer trying to mold the same kind of cookies? So that is where we have to tell client, hey, hire according to what the organization need, the job need, not what you need. Yeah.
Mm,
So this is something that we always have to constantly remind them. And that actually brings the dynamic to the culture. Yeah.
right.
Now that's organization wide. Now let's bring it one level lower. Let's talk about team. So a lot of team work together during the storming stage. Yeah, you can see people not clicking very well, and then when it comes to teaming, they come back together. So that kind of process can be enhanced if you actually know the team dynamic. You can facilitate the process, you can shorten the storming stage, yeah, and come to teaming stage and the forming stage very quickly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so these are all the I don't want to call it shortcuts, but it can be part of the shortcuts that you can adapt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot more discussion going on in the chat
Yep.
room, and I
Okay.
love my audience because they're so, sharing and committing to that.
Okay.
But I do have to ask you at this point
Yes.
of our conversation,
Mm.
it has been 50 minutes, Eve. So, when we're having fun, time flies.
Yes.
So at this point, I ask this again to all of my
Mm.
clients, all of
Yep.
my guests on the show.
Mm.
How would you define corporate culture? What is corporate culture to you?
Hmm. Wow. You should have prepped me before I come to your show again. Corporate culture, organization's DNA. Yeah. So imagine organization is just like human body. Imagine that. So culture is really a DNA. Yeah. How do you actually live up to what your organization is preaching? That is actually the culture that you're walking. Are you walking the talk? Yeah. Are you really doing what you say you're doing? Are you delivering the kind of service that what the organization is aiming for? Yeah. Or are we treating people fairly in the organization? So all these are formation of culture. So culture is a huge word. Yeah. You can have team culture, you can have organization culture, you can have team, you can even have body culture. Yeah. So for me, culture is the DNA of the organization. Mm-hmm.
Well said. Thank you so much. Even without preparation, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, you know
Mhm.
what? I think at this point in time, I would
Mm.
really like you to kind of summarize our discussion
Mhm.
and maybe some key takeaways that you've had from our conversation tonight
Mhm.
that maybe the audience can take away with them.
Okay. I must thank everybody being so patient with me. I can see that there's a lot of interesting comments, and I'm also enjoying myself. Um, I must say, people is really something that I'm very passionate about. Just a bonus piece of information for all of you. Even though I have a background in psychology, my very first background in terms of my education is actually IT. Yeah. So when I blend technology and psychology together, we can see that there's so many things that can be happening, especially because of the pandemic. It became a catalyst. Many more things will be happening. So you have to stay on and explore. But of course, um, we work with people day in, day out. So as much as we always say, hey, we are a performance-based organization, we must drive KPI, we must see results, we must do this and that. However, without people wanting to perform, the organization is not going anywhere. So when we talk about culture, look at the people first. Yeah. I understand that, of course, some people will say that the culture comes from the leaders. Yes, it comes from the leaders, But who is going to walk the journey with the leaders? It's the people. The leaders cannot walk the entire journey by themselves. They will have people following them. And culture that is very positive and strong, people will follow the leaders willingly, happily. That is how we build even stronger culture. Yeah. If an organization say that, hey, our culture is so good, ask the person who left the organization. He or she will be the best testimonial whether do you have a good culture. If someone who left the organization and say, yes, the organization I work with, I'm still very proud that I was part of it, you really drove the culture well. Then I say congratulations. Yeah. So that is how I see people and culture. I hope that summed up my sharing.
No, that was wonderfully put. Like I said, there's a lot of comments and some questions that we did not manage to go through in the chat. What we'll do is go back through them in the post on my feed. And Evelyn, if you do have the time, please do comment on the chat as well. And
Sure.
repost it on your feed so that your audience can watch the rerun of the show. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank everyone on board. There's people from all over the world in the audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting my content. Thank you so much, Evelyn Chue, for coming and sharing all of this fantastic information that you shared with us. As always, if there's anything that we can do for you, please just shout out and let me know if I can help you in any way. And everyone in the audience, please, if you've not connected to Eve, please connect with her on LinkedIn and connect to each other on the chat. All of you are fantastic people, really committed to growth, committed to improving yourselves. That's why you're here today. Thank you, everyone. I see all of your comments and I will respond to them when I can. So, Eve, take care, be safe during
Thank
these
you.
times. And as always, stay kind, everyone. Goodbye
You
and
too.
good night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thank
Bye,
you. Take
everyone.
care. Stay safe. Bye.